I'm Jono, Trequino here, and I'm back again, guest appearance on the manager's seat, and we are going to be looking at the semi-final of the Champions League. Not Real Madrid and Manchester City, we're looking at AC Milan versus Internazionale. First leg takes place tonight. We're going to look at both tactics, and we're going to do a little versus mode at the end to try and see if FM can predict the outcome of the two-legged semi-final, where we're going to dive in. I'm going to control both teams in versus mode. Now, these tactics are available for the Manager's Seat Discord members. Link down in the description. Go ahead, download them, and let me know down in the comments who you think is going to win the semi-final. I'm going Internazionale, but let me know down in the comments who you're picking. Okay, so we're going to look at AC Milan first, and they're kind of a 4-2-3-1. I have made a couple of adjustments. They generally do a 4-2-3-1, especially in Serie A games, but just in Europe in particular, against the games against Napoli, and in the league game recently against Napoli, and against Roma a couple of weekends ago, they've just had a little bit of a change. Still a double pivot, but just an interesting role with Benassa in central midfield, so we're going to take a look at that. So this is the kind of the European AC Milan, the 4-2-3-1. In particular, Diaz normally kind of plays as a 10, but in these European games, these bigger games in the league as well, he's come out and started onto this right-hand side, and they've played with more of a general midfield three, including Benassa, Tonali and Krunic. Okay, so starting with the goalkeeper, Mike Maignan, we're going with a sweeper keeper on support. Generally, AC Milan build out from the back. He is pretty good with the ball at his feet and will often try and beat the first initial press. So he'll try and maybe reach a Hernandez, who's maybe pushed a little bit further on. He'll maybe try and pick out a midfielder. He'll even play long sometimes to Giroud, but generally playing out from the back. So sweeper keeper on support should give us that nice little balance. The back four, we've got Calabria. You could go full back on support, but because of the role of Diaz, and we're asking him to sit narrower, I want him to get on. So we'll see how that goes. One little change, if you want to be more defensively solid, would be to have Calabria as a full back on support. Two ball-playing defenders in Kalulu and Tomori. And then Theo Hernandez on this left-hand side, player instruction, dribble more. I've put him as a complete wing-back on attack because we know how adventurous he is. He's often getting into these areas and getting shots off. But with the complete wing-back, you get the additional of run from position. And that's what he does. Sometimes he'll go on underlaps. Sometimes he'll go on overlaps. Sometimes he'll come into the midfield. Sometimes he'll end up in the penalty area. In these runs, he'll actually be really a central run. So I'm fingers crossed we can see that in the match engine, that complete wing back of Theo Hernandez literally bombing on as much as possible. And then moving into the middle three, we're going with Krunic. Now, they've had a little bit of a change recently because they used to have sort of like Frank Kessie, Tonali. Obviously, Diaz plays as a kind of an out-and-out number 10. They have Salimakers and is it Masais, the older Brazilian player who plays out on the right-hand side. But when they're playing, I've noticed the 3 times that they've played Napoli recently and against Roma a couple of weekends ago, they've gone with this combination. So it is Krunic. Now, he does often drift into these areas here. He goes into even like a half-back role. He doesn't do it regularly. I've watched a lot of footage over the last couple of days, and he does it sometimes. So I'm hoping with the defensive midfielder on defend, he will naturally do that, but without having a half-back because we don't necessarily need to build up from a back three all the time. On the other side, we're going with a regista for Sandro Tonali, giving him the license to move forward a little bit, carry the ball. He's got Krunic behind him, so he's got a little bit more license this season to get involved in maybe more attacking areas. And then this role, now we said it was a 4-2-3-1, but Benassa isn't really a number 10. Just purely in FM terms, it's a role that obviously he's not suitable at and obviously not played much in. He could probably do it based on his attributes. He has got 15 tackling and 15 vision, but he's basically in there as an aggressive kind of number 8. We've done a few player instructions. We have got dribble more on because he is up in the 86th percentile for successful take-ons. So he's obviously liking to get the ball. He's quite tenacious. I didn't want him to do that. He does often sit in. He's really good at breaking up play, but I thought in possession, central midfielder, tackle harder because he's very aggressive and get further forward. We want him to get in there as much as possible, but out of possession, he is then dropping in to make a midfield 3. On the right-hand side, we're going with Diaz, but I'm going with an advanced playmaker. He generally plays as a number 10. That would probably be his best position. So I've gone with an advanced playmaker with the player instruction of sit narrower. A couple of the heat maps I'll put up on screen right now. You can see he does get pretty central. So I want him right in there. So the idea is that he moves into these areas, allows a Calabria to get round as well. And then on the left-hand side, we've got the leading goal scorer, the superstar, Rafael Leao. Inside forward on attack, instruction of stay wider and shoot more often. We want him to hug as much of the touchline as possible, create those 1v1s. And then Giroud up front, target forward, on support, no player instructions. Now, the team instructions are pretty basic. They're not an amazing footballing side. They're quite conservative, shall we say. They don't push loads of bodies forward. They've got that nice double pivot set at the moment with Benessa playing as that number 8 as well. Very solid. They've not got any of these Pep Guardiola or De Zerbi kind of instructions going on with playing out from the back. It's all pretty basic. And I think they are relying on people like Leao, crosses in the box to Giroud. These little moments of quality to get them through. So, into the team instructions, we've gone positive mentality, in possession, shorter passing, slightly higher tempo, playing out from the defence. That's it. I was going to do crosses early, but looking at the number of crosses that they've done in Serie A this season, it's nothing outstanding. Nothing compared to actually what Inter Milan are, so I've left that blank. In transition, there is a counter press, especially last year when they were a lot stronger. There was a much more of a counter press. However, I've got that on. I haven't put counter attacking though. Looking on Y-Scout today, the counter attacking clips are very limited, which kind of shows to me that they're not much of a counter-attacking side. I said they do like to build up steadily from the back. Take short kicks, distribute to centre-backs as well with the goalkeeper whenever we can. And then out of possession, 2 simple instructions. Higher press, high defensive line. They do press as soon as that ball goes out to fullbacks. Rafa Leao, Diaz, Benassa is often in kind of doubling up with Giroud to press holding midfielders. If there is a holding midfielder, I would suggest as well, if you're going to use this tactic, get Benassa to man mark that holding midfielder and he will go in there and mark and press tightly. Okay, that is AC Milan. Now, I think it's a little bit because of their underperformance this year. They're not bang at it. They're not going to retain the title this year. So their system at the moment is quite basic. As I said, they're relying on the qualities of Hernandez, Leao, and trying to get the goals from Giroud. They're quite conservative. They keep the ball pretty well and quite patient in their build-up. So that's why we've gone with shorter passing directness and just slightly higher tempo. Okay, moving across to the blue side of Milan. Now, generally for Internazionale, they've been going with a 3-5-2 under Simone Inzaghi, so we're going to be doing that today. I think they've been quite unlucky this year. They're currently, I think, in 6th, level on points, actually, with AC Milan. I think 57 points, but they've kind of underperformed a little bit. If you look at some of their underlying numbers, they're highest in Serie A for XG, highest for shots. They've got a decent defensive record, and I think they're underperforming on their XG by about 6 goals. So I think if a fully fit Lukaku for the full season, they could have been a lot closer to the Scudetto this year. So the 3-5-2 looks like this. Onana, sweeper keeper, very important. He's played a lot recently. Definitely better with his feet. It has been suggested that Manchester United should maybe make a move for him. In particular, if Inter Milan do not qualify for the Champions League this season, they're going to be in financial meltdown. So he is a keeper that played under Ten Hag at Ajax. Obviously, very, very good out from the back. Likes to distribute to the centre-halves. Also likes to distribute, has the quality to knock a ball into like the midfield, fizz a ball in, drift a ball into Lukaku's chest and play. So we've got him on sweeper, keeper on support. Okay, the back 3, I'm a little unsure. Even with the back 5, who is actually going to play? I'm not quite sure who's fully fit. There's obviously Bastoni is probably, if he's fit, he will definitely play. But the right and the left-hand side, the wing-backs, even the centre-halves, are a little bit off. I'm not 100% sure. Now, Acerbi's been playing in the middle of the 3 recently, but obviously there's Stefan De Vrij. We're going with De Vrij because I'm from Yorkshire, so we're going to go De Vrij. There's obviously Skriniar, Bastoni, as we said. We've got Dumfries, we've got Di Marco, we've got Damian, who sometimes even played as a wide centre-half. And we've also got Robin Gosens on that left-hand side. So, this is what I think they may actually go with Skriniar as a wide centre-back, no playing instructions, but on the defensive role. Acerbi in the middle as a cover. And then Bastoni, if we look at Bastoni's heat map for the season, wow, he is literally playing like an attacking fullback. So, we're just going to go with it on support for now. with the player instruction of dribble more, excellent ball carrier. Into the wing-backs, 2 basic wing-backs. I was thinking about DiMarco. What I would suggest is they often have one a lot higher than the other. So sometimes it'll be, you look at the heat maps and DiMarco or average position, DiMarco would have been more of an attacking one, and then Dumfries would be a little bit more of a support, and then the week after it's completely different. So my suggestion would be, at times, put one of them on attack and have a nice little bit of variation in terms of the starting positions. Obviously, wing back on attack is going to get into byline crossing opportunities. He's also going to probably start a little bit higher up in build-up. What I might even suggest as well, because of the role of Bastoni, and he's going to be a carrier, we need to be a little bit aware of those 2 positions there. So what we are going to do actually for the game is start DiMarco as a wing back on attack, see if he can get a little bit higher, and then that might allow Bastoni a little bit more space to carry into with that wide centre-back role. Okay, moving into the middle 3. Now, this has changed a lot. Brozovic hasn't featured a great deal this season, and they've often gone with a midfield of Barella, Hakan, and Mkhitaryan. But I think if they're all fit, he has to go with Brozovic just for that solidity in front of the back 3. Now, I've not put him there, just for the main reason that I don't want him to be absolutely sat. He's not a complete shielder in terms of sitting a couple of yards in front. So what I'm hoping is that his starting position will be a little bit higher, but because of the role that we've got him as deep line playmaker on defend, he will naturally drop into these roles. I was a little bit worried about him kind of getting in the way, and I want him to create a little bit of space for hopefully Skriniar, Bastoni to drive on. Now, either side of him has been a tricky one. I've gone with Barella as a Mazzala on attack. No player instructions, just purely because of his heat map for the season. Look at that heat map. He's basically playing pretty much like a right winger. So I've gone for a Mazzala on attack so he can get into these attacking areas. He's been in and around the penalty area recently, scored a couple of goals, fair few opportunities, so we're going on attack just so we can get into that final third a little bit more. And then this role changes a lot depending on who's playing and the variations. It could even be a box-to-box. You could even call Mkhitaryan a box-to-box midfielder at time, but I'm just gone for Hakan. I've just gone with central midfield on support with the player instructions of dribble more, because obviously a fantastic dribbler, and roam from position just so we get that little bit of kind of creativity. Hopefully he'll drift into little pockets and get on the ball as much as possible. And then moving into the front 2, it's what I think are potentially going to be the match winners. Now, I think he's going to go Lukaku and Martinez. Lukaku is starting to get himself back fit, has been playing more 90 minutes recently, and I think these are obviously the best 2. They combined really well a couple of seasons ago to give Conte that title back in, what would it have been, 2021? So fingers crossed these 2 work together, because it is by far the best combination. Lukaku, target forward on attack, and then Lautaro Martinez, advanced forward. I think if they go with Lukaku, they can maybe exploit the gaps left by some of the fullbacks, in particular Calabria. If he's pushing forward a little bit on that right-hand side, they'll be a lot more lethal in transitions. Okay, here we go. Positive mentality. Fairly wide approach play, pass into space. Now we're doing that because they have got a higher number in terms of completed longer passes, and that's obviously because of players like Edin Dzeko, but pass into space because we want Lukaku charging into that left-hand side, don't we? Or even the right-hand side. Martinez is obviously pretty sharp as well. Good central forwards like to work channels, like to pull centre-halves apart. Get him into them channels where they don't want to be. So that's why we've got that on. Play out of defence. They still do try and build out from the back, obviously with a back 3, so they're going to try and build out from there. We've only gone slightly shorter in terms of passing directness because we do want to be a little bit more direct in terms of that pass into space, that pass into Lukaku or Martinez or maybe Barella and Hakan in those 2 little half spaces. Slightly higher tempo. Early crosses because they have got by far the highest number of completed crosses and crosses attempted in Serie A this season. Balls in the box from those wing-backs. Play for set pieces as well because they've created the highest amount of set piece chances this season in Serie A. And then into the transition, a little bit more of a counter because we've got that, we've got that front 2 up there, so it makes it easier for them to counter. Load of goals. More under the Conte. There were so many goals with Lukaku and Martinez in transitions, but I think with Lukaku getting fitter, he's going to be able to work better in those transitions, those counter-attacks, working into spaces, balls over the top where maybe a Theo Hernandez, as I said, Calabria, the 2 wing-backs have maybe pushed on a little bit. I think they can counter maybe even from the keeper as well. Counter-press is on, distribute to centre-backs and take short kicks. And then we're going to have a more often triangle press just because they're a little bit more aggressive. High press, high defensive line. Okay, so that is the two tactics for Inter Milan and AC Milan. Down in the description, there is the link to the Discord. Get them there, download them, put them in. I'm really liking the Inter Milan one. I think in particular because of Lukaku and Martinez. I just think those two are going to be the match winners in this little versus mode. So we're going to do a versus mode game now. I'm going to manage both teams. I'm going to plug the tactics in, pick the players, and just let them play and see who comes out on top. Alright, so I've had to make an enforced change because the versus mode has decided not to put Krunic in the game. So I couldn't pick him. So I've gone with Tomasio Pobega, who's kind of played a little bit recently, more of a backup, but can do the holding role that we're kind of asking him to do, no problem. Now the first leg ended 0-0. As you can see, Romelu Lukaku missed a penalty. We'll have a little look at that in a minute. But as you can see from the stats, Inter kind of edged it. 50-50 possession. Both key teams are not over-reliant on possession. I can imagine it's going to be pretty even, in particular during the first leg. Shots, 17-11 with 10 on target, with an XG of 1.67. Obviously inflated a fair bit because of the penalty. But they've maybe just edged it pass-wise. Pretty similar as well. Only 8 more passes and 3 more passes completed for AC Milan. So, very tight going into the second leg. Let's see if Romelu's miss. So you'd fancy him from the penalty spot as well, wouldn't you? Magnan's giving him a little bit on the line. Good save from Magnan. He saved a couple. Did he save 2 pens in the quarter-final against Napoli? I think he did. Right, moving into the second leg. So it's Inter Milan going into the second leg. You would perhaps suggest favourites going into the second leg at home. Now, despite Inter Milan being favourites for the first leg, it was actually AC Milan that took the lead. Tonelli finding Theo Hernandez down that left-hand side and crossing. We did say Giroud and Theo and Leao would be the key for AC Milan. However, Inter Milan equalised. Barella robbing Theo this time, finding Lautaro and finding Lukaku, who had the opportunity to redeem himself after that penalty miss in the first leg. And then into the 83rd minute, the game was won once again. Lautaro and Lukaku combining to make it 2-1 and to go through on aggregate. Alright, I did say Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez are potentially going to be the match winners for Inter Milan. I am going to stick with that prediction, but let me know down in the comments who you think is going to come out on top. Let me know, has your ideas changed about who potentially is the favourite based on the tactics you have seen in today's video? Check out the Discord. Check out my personal channel as well. That'd be muchly appreciated. Thank you to the guys at Manager's Seat for letting me on again. Any other tactical replications, put them down in the comments and I might just well be back sometime in the near future and I'll do another one for you. Alright guys, take care. Thank you. See you later.